Hi, it's Chris again with FOREX, where the Forex market intersects with philanthropy. And today is Wednesday, April 29th, getting near the end of the month, episode 16. And what a crazy market. Of course, I could say that every day. I do. But a lot of great trading opportunities in the last 24 hours. I hope you've been taking advantage of it. And, um, and a cautionary tale about patience today. I know that I have been excited about the trend we're looking at breaking out to the upside and heading on up to at least 9,800. But you have to get, as I say every day, sometimes you have to get down into the trees or the weeds and then zoom back out to the forest and back into the weeds again. And it's this kind of, what's the word for it? I'll just say crazy zooming in and zooming out to really kind of get a sense of where the market's at. And looking at it right now, it appears that we could be in the process of a new breakout to the upside, which is what we've been wanting, because this downtrend channel will ultimately pull back up to this level here. And so over the last couple of days, we've been guessing, was this line here, was this the breakout right here? We had 1, 2, 3 points of confirmation, and then it broke out. But you'll recall that I called it as kind of a dribble. I wasn't liking this as a breakout too much, so I moved it up to here, where we had this really strong, robust breakout. And this is what we talked about in the last episode. And then it pulled back really hard, but it actually kind of crossed the line. And not only kind of crossed the line, it did cross the line. I'm going to now go down into 45 minutes, down from an hour. And yeah, we had a lot of consolidation here and then this breakout. And it sure looked like this was the breakout we were looking for. But it dribbled across the line. So maybe, maybe not. If you were to zoom out, I'm not going to do it now, but if you were to zoom out to the 2-hour chart, all these wicks kind of disappear and it looks very clean and pretty. In fact, I will, just to show you. Because in any time zone, you can find what works for you. That may not be necessarily what works for the market. Yeah, it did cross over this one candle here, but you can see the line bisected this fairly well enough where you could consider it to be a breakout. But I don't think that's entirely it. And because this is guesswork, and I never promised a crystal ball that we're going to have 100% promise every day, because the market just decides what it wants to do every day. So where we left off is the dark black line up the middle. This is where we ended yesterday. And you can see, I have drawn a few new lines since then. We were watching this movement up this way, pulled up, pulled back, and really thought in the last hour or so that this was going to be the breakout that took us northward all the way up to where we want to go. But instead, it seems to be consolidating, which is not a bad thing, because before a breakout, you will have consolidation, a lot of taps on the trend line before it snaps through. And in a way, it's kind of dribbling over. I'm going to keep pulling the line up to keep it under it. Because just before I went on the air here, I did what I had talked about. I zoomed out a little bit just to make sure, because in a way, well, I can't do it perfectly. But in a way, this looks like point number 2. And this, in a way, point number 3. Although as I'm talking, it's moving up. It could be breaking out. If this is point 3 and not a breakout that we're kind of witnessing, if it's a breakout, I'm fine with that. I did close the order trade I was in to be safe. I secured quite a bit of pips just to bank them. But you see that since that time, I've drawn this new channel here, which is hard to ignore. In fact, I don't think it should be ignored. let me put this trend line, this weird trend line, if that's what it was, back to here, where we had the dribbling breakout. That's not a technical term, so don't look it up. A dribbling breakout. So what do we see here? If we zoom back out to the body of the main channel, and if you've noticed, the lines I'm drawing are bolder or lighter depending on the time frame. So the boldest, so that if we can't see the whole pattern, we can at least see the lines. The darkest lines are the biggest trend lines for the whole pattern. And then smaller ones are the channels that are in between or inside it. So if we take a look, well, yeah, this is just hitting that line, and it's just like, you know, this could be breaking out as we speak, and that's fine. But if not, what do we have here? We have a 0.1 here, a 0.2 here, almost a 3, but depending on how I tighten this line up, we have consolidation here for what could be a downward breakout. So I don't know if we have 3 points yet, but what else do we have that gives us a clue about a trend reversal? And that's this possible double top. We have a peak here. We have the second peak forming. A wick touched it. It's kind of deciding if it's going to double top. If this holds as a double top, and we have our 3 points along this trend line, as much as we want the 100+ pips upward to 9,800, 9,700, whatever it was, we may have this token pullback. And the reason I say that is because what do we say about every time frame of every channel of any time frame? You have, I'm hoping this is visible. When you have 1, 2, and now 3 points here, we're halfway there. But what's missing to signify that this is going to be a breakout or a trend reversal, a major trend reversal? What we don't have is the so-called double bottom, which is way, way, way down here. So the buy order I had in, probably where this green line is now, which was way up into profit, I've closed it, because potentially if this smaller medium-sized channel does break out south, it would take me all the way back to where the entry was, and possibly even below. And so, you know, a couple $100, couple 100 pips, take your profit, be safe, because you'll wish you did. And then you'll be anxious and uptight that you didn't do it, because you'll see that it's still not going all the way up to 9,800 yet, all caps, yet. It will. It's destined to do that based on what we see. But we might have this little intermediate pullback. So, because after all, if we're calling this a double top right here, and the 1, 2, 3 here, then the same applies here. 1, 2, 3. We need to have a pullback, either a double bottom or just something that pulls back part way and stalls and doesn't go all the way to the bottom, but signifies that the rally has tired out, it pulled back, and now it's going to go all the way back up to here. So now I'm going to get phone calls about this, and that's fine. It's hard to explain it any other way. So it is a bit of a picture perfect medium channel here, and this little double top maybe. So if we measure this medium channel, as I've done with the arrow, and I extend it to where likely it could break out, let's just say it'll break out at this right about here. Look at where the distance or the measured target ends up. It actually comes right back to this main trend line, the dribbling breakout. It's finally, after how many days? That was 27, 3 days, 2 days, 3 days of meandering outward. it still hasn't formally retested this trend line. Now it kind of did here, and I could get away with that. I could just say, well, it pulled back and touched, retested it, didn't quite touch it. But there's nothing to say it won't go out into the future and come all the way back yet again and retest that line. Could very well do it. And it also conforms, like I said, to the measured distance that we would be trading. So what I've done, I haven't entered this order yet. I kind of want to see how this goes. I would put in a sell stop order at 845 right here, maybe a little bit higher. But this looks like a safely below this trend line wherever, because we don't know if we have 0.3 yet, kind of, sort of. That might be the third right here. We definitely have two. There's two right here. There could be three in here somewhere. But wherever it ends up back here, it'll I think 845 is a safe sell stop order. And then nice round number, 778 or 780, however you want to read it, down here. It's within this distance. I always like to be a little conservative and not go too far. It's short of hitting this trend line, which is also a nice conservative target. And even here, because see, we have a previous level of support right here at 79. I mean, one could just take this up here to right about there, 79. What is that? What does that come to? I'm gonna clean this up. Let's see, we have 10, we have 55 pips. All right, so 55 pips or $550 in a standard lot, movement downward. That's what that would be. That's a pretty good target. Yes, we could eke it out and go further, but I think just to play it really safe, I would sell at 845, right below the trend line, take profit at 79, or maybe call it, 785, so that this ends up being, an even number of pips. But that would be a nice trade. That would be a very nice trade, because once it hit this point, it would bounce and head back up. And what would happen when it got up to here? It would be the fourth point, which doesn't exist, because the fourth approach to the trend line, it breaks through. So assuming we have 2 and 3 lined up here, and we're pretty close. Now this one's looking a little shy because this is pushing the line upward. It's just not 100%. We're going to have to kind of go with our gut. And so either this is going to break out and all this exercise was a waste of time, or to be true to the experience I've had in this trading this market, it's so much slower than you think or want it to be. As nimble as it is, as quickly as a candle can move, and as many pips as you can get. See, that's the funny thing. You can make really good money in an instant, but the paint still has to dry. And these charts are like glaciers, and you just can see it's ready to go, but well, we've got this little intermediate glacier here, and it wants to thaw out for a little bit. So that's how I'm reading it. I'm seeing it both ways. I am inclined to do this sell more than I am inclined to do a buy right now. So now let's zoom in further. That was a period at the end of that sentence. I want to now move in a bit closer so we can take a better look at what happened in the last 24 hours. And that kind of illustrates a lot of things. Okay, so stopped broadcast right here at the black line. This is what things look like. And this could have been bottoming out and it was going to head back up, which I think some of us thought this was a bottom out. It didn't. It actually pulled down lower, which is suspicious, which almost confirms that this trend line might be relevant. Anyway, moving on, I would say that I think this was about the time I was probably going to call it a night. Oh, shoot. Little arrows. have to do this my way. Okay. So we had this expanding triangle shape developing. So it didn't surprise me that this broke out to the north. I wasn't trading it because I was already in the market at the time, but I saw this develop. It broke out, fine. And then throughout the night in the Western Hemisphere, this channel had formed, broke out. Again, I'm not awake to see this. Let's just get down even closer in the 1 minute chart, and we start to see these things a little bit more. Okay. So I'm in the 1 minute chart. So you can see this channel happened. I drew the line after the fact. It bottomed out, broke out. And then we're getting into morning where about 1330, 1400, that's about what, 6:30, 7 a.m. in the West. I'm awaking to this and seeing, oh, well, we could have I didn't draw the line, but we could see another channel here. Oh, sure did. Broke out here and just dropped. And again, to this trend, this new trend line, which I hadn't drawn yet, but it's somehow the price keeps finding this place. And literally within the last half hour is when I drew this line. So I wasn't thinking on these terms earlier, but now that I've drawn it, you can see how I kept coming back to it, which is sort of foreshadowing in a way. All right, and then later in the morning, we had, you can almost take that one out, but we had this nice kind of wedge pattern here. Naturally, it broke out there, no surprise. And woo, then it just kind of took off into the present, where it sure, let's just put it this way. If you're looking at this upward movement, you sure think in that moment, oh, this is breaking out. Look, it's crossing the trend line, it's pounding on it, and it pushed through. Okay, yay, we are now heading up. But we aren't. And you can see that now I have since drawn another upsloping trend line. And what does that mean? That means that we've got easily 3 points along here. 1, 2, maybe there's 3. This stalled. Let me clone that real quick before it moves so I can show you. Let's just throw it there for conversation. So yeah, I want this to be a breakout heading up, but I'm seeing a pattern that's telling me, no, I'm going to come back down. In fact, as I draw this, I can put, so there. I could easily trade this. You see, every little opportunity is a moment of profit here. So I mean, it doesn't really matter you trade what I trade or whatever. I mean, one could get in like within moments. Right here, I don't even know what the price is, 871. I could make it 870 just to be clean. I'm going to. Like it always to be clean. Okay, that's the safe entry, 870 down to, what is this? 85, let's put 8575. Okay. Okay. So that is about 15 pips or so. From here down to here. That is so definitely probable as I'm looking at this. This thing is going to break here, enter your sell here, and it will easily come down to this previous level of support. 15 pips, boom. That's just one little trade I just discovered as I'm talking. See, it's funny how someone says, your thing is all stream of consciousness. And I'm like, well, I like it that way. If this was all rehearsed and scripted, it's not reality. Because as you're trading, it is stream of consciousness. It is a fluid motion, and everything's changing by the minute. I could give you a beautifully scripted chart and too bad it didn't play out because it moved. So there you have it about my technique. All right, so yes, we've got this little micro move here. I mean, one could enter here and just let it keep on going. That's another thing. That's a little risky. You want to enter your sell here, and it's actually happening. And not only just take profit here, but let it just keep going long. That's even more profit. I would say that's a little bit more of an advanced technique because you have to be nimble on your, you might have to get out quick if it doesn't work correctly. It looks like it is. It looks like this has formed a double top. It's a little wonky. It's not exactly to the very top here, but it's close enough. It doesn't appear, it's hit this trend line so many times and there's some red candles there. I'm not seeing this as a breakout at all. So sorry to my friend who we were betting that this was a breakout. I'm calling it as the second or not the second, but maybe the third touch of the master trend line. And yeah, I feel this is destined to go south. But like I said, that's 55 pips, and I wouldn't complain about that. I might actually just get a little greedy. Did I say that? Can't get greedy in Forex. But if the momentum is strong enough, put it in at 885. Now that's getting as close as it should get. So that's 60 pips right there. So advanced course, sell here and take it all the way down. Or more conservative approach, wait until it touches this line at some point here and then breaks through and then enter here. Now enter here means you should probably put the order in suspense, meaning it's ready to go. Because if you wait until this happens and you hit it, it could zoom right on past it and you've missed profit, which you could get some, but better to place the order ahead of time. All right, so as much as we want this to go in another direction, here's the good news. The good news is if it pulls back, we're going to make money. And then when it eventually goes back up this way, we're going to make a heck of a lot of money. And isn't that great? So every day you're going to do something. It doesn't have to go the way you want it to go or even know it will in a couple of days. It doesn't matter. If you're making your profit every day, that's really, I guess that's kind of the mantra is, you know, whatever, if you're in it for long term, fine, then close your eyes and turn off the volume and not watch all of this intermediate activity. However, if you are in it to earn a daily profit, then you really do need to be taking a look at the fact that there's these intermediate moments where the course changes for a brief while, and that's okay. All right, so I am going to, I don't think I have put in a trade order yet on these sells, so I probably should sign off so I can do that. I will, let me go do my famous, now famous moving of the bar because I want us to always be able to pick up where we left off. Okay, here we go. The baton is moving forward. I know this is stupid. I don't need to do this while you're watching it, but what is this about stream of consciousness? Okay, boom, right here is where we're ending today. And let's see what happens in the next couple of hours in terms of pulling back and breaking through. If this thing continues on upward, hooray, that might be why this is not the safest sell at the moment, because, you know, for all we know, that's 0.3 and that's no, that can't be 0.4. It's, again, it's optical, kaleidoscope. You just have to just be nimble. Be nimble in, particularly in these last moments before a breakout. It can kind of go in both directions at the same time, essentially. And you just want to be sure you're on the right side. And so this might be risky in case it decides to just turn around and go. This is a lot safer to sell here. You'll find out one way or the other tomorrow when I finally decide and roll the dice and which way I'm going to go. All right, then. Thank you very much for your time, as always. Please like this video. Here's the scripted part of the show. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, I would appreciate it if you would. Please like the video. Please tell your friends, those you think have the aptitude or appetite for this type of silliness, because it is fun. When I say time consuming, it's just because it's addicting to watch to see how these things turn out, but it doesn't consume an enormous amount of time. And, to make a couple $100 every day, or, depending on how much you're trading with, maybe a couple $1,000 a day. I think that's really where it's about. Yeah, this is breaking out as we're talking. I'm the one that's talking. It's heading out here. So I may have missed an opportunity, which is perfectly fine, to sell here because it's going to be so close. I would have to do an instant sell at market move, like right this minute, not place it at 87, but just actually say sell right now. And we'll see how that goes. Okay, thank you again. Stay healthy. I think some corners of the world are going to reopen. I have no comment to make about that, other than stick with me and we're in it to win it. And I know someone else's slogan, but I'm using it. All right, have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.